They mocked Liu for bringing a useless hand-drawn blueprint. By sunrise, that sketch had become an SSS treasure ship. Liu was an ordinary senior from a struggling sailor family. Wang Quan publicly treated his homemade drawing like a joke. Then a god-tier merchant system completed the lost design. The finished blueprint could summon Jang He's legendary treasure ship. Its 9 masts dwarfed beginner vessels like a floating city. Liu's first voyage began with an advantage nobody could buy. One day earlier, Jianging No. 1 High School was preparing its seniors for the Great Voyage Talent Assessment. Every 18-year-old would enter another world of oceans, ports, islands, monsters, and desperately needed resources. Blue Star had spent decades burning through metals, fuel, and food faster than society could replace them. For wealthy families, scarcity meant higher costs. But for households like Liu's, every illness could wreck a monthly budget. Blue Star's resource crisis had already raised utility, metal food, and medicine costs across ordinary households. The Great Voyage program existed because another world offered islands, fresh water, minerals and trade resources Blue Star desperately needed. His little sister Lin Xiaoyu had recently caught the flu, forcing their mother to search several pharmacies for affordable medicine. Their father finally brought back medicinal herbs from a voyage. But the episode showed Liu how fragile their finances remained. He did not dream about fame first. He wanted his parents to stop counting coins whenever someone needed treatment. Their teacher, Su Xian, reminded the class that success in the Great Voyage World could lift an entire household. Talent would be ranked from F through SSS, while each student could also carry one personal starting item. Most students expected ordinary sailor, navigation cargo, or support abilities that might improve their first few voyages. A strong navigator could discover resources, establish a port, or build enough wealth to change several generations. Failure carried the opposite risk because the Great Voyage World was not a school simulation or protected tourist zone. Richer families had already prepared rare blueprints, equipment, trade goods, and ships worth more than Liu's family could imagine. Wang Quan belonged to one of those families. A local seafaring clan with fleets, islands, money, and established connections. He made sure everyone knew that starting resources could widen the gap before a rookie even left the harbor. His attention settled on Liu partly because Tang Yuxuan consistently treated the quiet boy more seriously than everyone else. Su Xian specifically warned about storms, sea monster pirates natives, and unknown powers operating beyond beginner harbors. Asked what his family had prepared, Liu simply answered that he would use whatever basic supplies the school provided. Wang Quan's response sounded polite, but the contempt behind it was obvious to nearly everyone in the room. Tang Yuxuan pushed back, reminding the class that an ordinary student had once built a fleet from almost nothing. Su Xian agreed that money mattered, yet talent could still overturn advantages purchased by even the richest household. She mentioned ship blueprints, and Liu immediately thought about the enormous vessel that had fascinated him since childhood. Students knew ships mattered because no vessel meant no movement, no cargo, and almost no path toward meaningful exploration. A good blueprint could therefore be more valuable than piles of ordinary starter supplies. The old drawing in his room depicted Jang He's treasure ship, a legendary Eastern vessel whose true plans had disappeared. After school, Tang Yuxuan quietly wished Liu luck and offered help if they reached the same beginner region. Zhang, Liu's loud but loyal friend, immediately noticed her unusual concern and teased him for the entire walk home. Liu laughed it off, but the coming assessment stayed heavy in his mind as the departure tower filled the skyline. At home, his father Lin Hai returned from another hard voyage, with weathered skin and rough hands from years at sea. He had spent his life working on other captains' ships, taking the danger, while owners and fleet masters kept the real profits. Lin Hai's work had taught Liu that sailors endured the waves, while captains and fleet owners captured most of the upside. During dinner, Lin Hai pushed saved sea pearls toward his son as emergency starting capital. The amount looked small beside rich students' preparations, yet Liu understood how many dangerous working days those pearls represented. He tried to refuse, but his father insisted, until Liu finally promised he would find his own path. Lin Xiaoyu announced that her brother would become a great captain and jokingly appointed herself his future first mate. Her confidence made everyone laugh, but it also sharpened Liu's determination to change what his family could afford. Lin Xiaoyu even promised to support her brother if he failed, turning a childish joke into another reason he wanted success. Back in his room, he studied the old image of Jang He's treasure ship hanging beside his desk. With no rare item to carry, Liu decided his personal starting object would be the blueprint he had drawn himself. It was not technically complete, valuable or professionally drafted. It was simply the best reconstruction his research allowed. Liu's reconstruction came from old books, scattered internet references, and years of fascination with the lost Eastern vessel. He folded the drawing carefully, placed it in his bag, and prepared to bring a childhood dream into the assessment. Sleep refused to come while thoughts of medicine rent. His father's voyages, and tomorrow's unknown talent filled his head. Then a cold notification sounded inside the dark room, even though every electronic device around him remained silent. A Great Voyage God-tier merchant system announced that Liu had met its binding requirements and successfully linked with it. Before he could recover, the system identified his hand-drawn Jang He design as an object containing intense navigational will. It began a divine-level completion process, repairing everything his incomplete historical knowledge could never have supplied. The ordinary paper glowed gold as missing hull structures, decks, masts, compartments, rigging, and construction details appeared. When the process ended, Liu possessed the complete SSS quality blueprint for Jang He's treasure ship. The completed design showed 9 masts, decks, huge storage, and structural details absent from Liu's original sketch. The system described the reward as a vessel built for trade, ocean endurance, and survival rather than a fragile beginner boat. The system classified it as a massive ocean-going trade vessel with enormous cargo capacity. Endurance, defense, and profit bonuses. More importantly, placing the completed blueprint on tomorrow's awakening platform could directly grant him the ship as his starter vessel. Liu stared at the transformed drawing until the scale of his advantage finally became real. Wang Quan would arrive with an expensive family blueprint, while Liu would carry something money could no longer match. He barely slept, but when morning came, he hid the golden secret beneath the same calm expression his classmates knew. Liu kept the glowing blueprint hidden because revealing it before the assessment would only create questions he could not answer. At school, Zhang joked about awakening a talent that merely reduced his seasickness by half an hour. Tang Yuxuan noticed Liu's messy hair, smoothed it down for him, and again drew several curious looks from nearby students. Liu kept the conversation light because explaining why he had been awake all night was obviously impossible. The class soon entered the enormous testing plaza beneath the departure tower, where awakening stations formed long-ordered rows. Staff explained that each student would place one personal item on the platform before touching the assessment crystal. Different grades produced different colors. And stronger talents could immediately attract schools, bureaus, guilds, or government attention. Assessment crystals normally produced recognizable grades quickly, making Liu's initial silence look worse than an ordinary low result. Student after student stepped forward, with most awakening D or C abilities that offered modest advantages. Zhang finally received a C-rank storm resistance talent, useful enough to keep him safer than many ordinary rookie sailors. Wang Quan followed with a B-rank ship speed talent, which improved vessel speed by 20% and pleased his wealthy family. Zhang's C-rank storm resistance was not glamorous, but Suxian correctly called it a practical life-saving talent. He treated the result like confirmation that his expensive starting's resources would place him comfortably ahead of Liu. Then Tang Yuxuan awakened an A-rank C God's blessing, immediately making her one of the strongest students in the class. Tang Yuxuan's A-rank result made her a priority student before Liu ever stepped onto the platform. Suxian was thrilled, and even Wang Quan's confident smile tightened when an A-rank result overshadowed his own. Tang Yuxuan accepted the congratulations, then looked toward Liu as if his result mattered more to her. Zhang joked that Liu looked calm enough to be secretly expecting an SSS talent. Liu almost reacted, because his friend had accidentally landed far closer to the truth than he realized. When Liu's name was called, he walked onto the platform carrying a folded sheet everyone recognized as his homemade blueprint. Wang Quan openly questioned why anyone would waste their only starting item on a drawing with no proven construction value. Wang Quan had arrived expecting his rare family preparation to dominate students who could afford only school-issued equipment. A few students laughed, assuming Liu had brought sentimental paper, because his family could not afford anything useful. Tang Yuxuan did not laugh. She simply watched while Liu placed the blueprint flat on the awakening surface. The platform trembled so lightly that almost nobody noticed, while the system privately confirmed the completed design had been detected. Liu silently authorized the awakening and placed his hand against the transparent crystal orb. 1 second passed. Then another. And nothing appeared inside the crystal. Giving Wang Quan fresh reason to smirk. Murmurs spread that Liu might have failed completely or awakened something too weak for the equipment to register. Even Su Xian began moving toward the station, suspecting a malfunction, before a tiny golden point appeared deep inside. That point erupted into a beam bright enough to silence the surrounding platforms and pull every nearby face toward Liu. The first golden burst was powerful enough to interrupt testing at nearby stations, not merely Liu's own class. Its golden light meant at least an S-rank result, something Jang He had not produced in years. Jiang shouted in disbelief while Wang Quan stood motionless, suddenly watching his own B-rank achievement become irrelevant. Tang Yuxuan looked happier for Liu's breakthrough than she had looked after receiving her own A-rank blessing. The golden radiance kept rising instead of stabilizing, forcing staff to realize the assessment had not reached its final grade. Silver patterns around the platform ignited, energy rolled across the floor, and hairline cracks spread over the crystal's surface. Staff began worrying about the assessment crystal itself when the energy continued rising instead of stabilizing. Then 7-colored light burst upward and condensed above Liu into the silhouette of a colossal 9-masted eastern ship. Even as an illusion, the vessel looked less like a beginner ship and more like a fortress built to cross oceans. The assessment finally announced an SSS rank unique hidden talent, leaving the entire testing area silent before chaos erupted. The 7-colored projection did not resemble a skill icon. It formed the outline of the enormous ship tied to Liu's blueprint. Su Jian hurried forward, confirmed what kind of SSS ability one of her ordinary students had awakened. Wang Quan recovered enough to argue that talent alone meant little if Liu still lacked a proper vessel. Without a ship, he claimed, even an extraordinary ability could leave a rookie trapped inside the starting harbor. Liu calmly admitted the argument made sense, then revealed the detail Wang Quan had failed to consider. His SSS ability was not merely related to sailing. It was a unique ship talent tied directly to Jang He's treasure ship. The platform projected the full result, confirming that Liu would receive the enormous vessel immediately after entering the Great Voyage World. The final announcement classified the ability as a unique hidden talent rather than a standard ship speed or navigation enhancement. Its core advantages included a massive hold, long-distance endurance, superior storm resistance, reinforced defense, and enhanced trade profits. The ship could not be copied, transferred, or dropped, making the talent itself a unique starting asset. Its trade bonus meant Liu's advantage could keep growing with every profitable route instead of ending after the first launch. Jiang immediately reminded Wang Quan that the boy he had mocked for lacking a ship now owned an SSS one. Nobody needed another reaction. The projected vessel above Liu had already answered every insult aimed at his homemade blueprint. Su Xian registered the result and ordered the class to proceed quickly, because newly awakened students still had one required step. School staff immediately understood that an SSS result would require reporting far beyond the homeroom level. Each student now had to enter the teleportation array and complete a first voyage before their navigator status became permanent. Liu stepped away from the testing platform, knowing the drawing everyone dismissed had just rewritten his family's future. Even with that attention waiting, regulations required Liu to enter the Great Voyage World before completing any administrative celebration. His real qualification would depend on surviving the first departure rather than standing under a bright assessment crystal. Tang Yuxuan congratulated him quietly, while Jiang immediately demanded a place on any future voyage if they landed together. Wang Quan offered one last warning that talent could not replace resources. Connections, judgment and experience once real sailing began. Liu answered by asking why Wang Quan kept warning him if he truly believed the gap meant nothing. The remark ended the argument, and the class began entering the enormous blue teleportation gate one student at a time. Su Jian reminded them that everyone would appear at random beginner harbors and receive an initial navigator mission. A strong awakening offered possibilities. But storms, ports, monsters, and bad decisions could still kill talented rookies. The teleportation array could scatter classmates across bustling capitals, minor harbors, ports, or isolated regions without warning. Jiang admitted he was nervous about being scattered alone, and Liu promised to help if they reached the same region. After his friend disappeared into blue light, Liu stepped forward and felt the testing plaza vanish beneath his feet. Salt wind struck his face first, followed by gull cry, shouting dock workers, wooden wheels, and the smell of tar. He had arrived at Blackstone Port, a busy western harbor filled with merchants, sailors, taverns, and crowded warehouses. The system identified it as a major beginner port, with strong trade activity and profitable routes toward Atlantic coastal markets. Blackstone's markets were valuable because goods bought there could rise sharply in price if carried far enough west. That was good news because Liu's talent was built around moving large quantities farther than ordinary rookie ships could manage. Before he could explore, Tang Yuxuan called his name and revealed that she had been teleported to Blackstone as well. Her family had prepared a small beginner sailboat and a sailor, giving her a safe route toward Genoa and relatives. Tang Yuxuan's family route emphasized safety, contrasting with the giant but still completely untested ship waiting for Liu. Zhang also appeared in the area, without comparable resources, and quickly discovered that starting life at a harbor meant hard labor. Wang Kuan arrived with his expensive family-prepared caravel, proudly treating it as one of the strongest beginner vessels present. That confidence lasted until the water beyond the harbor darkened beneath the shadow of something approaching the deep water berth. 9 towering masts appeared above the surrounding ships, followed by an enormous eastern hull covered in gold-patterned details. Jang He's treasure ship entered Blackstone Port, so slowly and heavily that nearby vessels looked like toys beside it. Its wake rocked Wang Kuan's caravel, hard enough to send his sailors scrambling for ropes before they hit the dock. Wang Kuan's sailors struggled merely to steady his caravel after the treasure ship's wake rolled across the berth. Workers, students and veteran captains stopped what they were doing because nobody expected a rookie to command it. Liu himself felt a jolt. Seeing the ship on paper had not prepared him for its real scale. The gangway lowered automatically, and he boarded the vessel beneath a harbor full of staring faces. His system immediately confirmed that the SSS Jang He treasure ship was brand new, pristine and fully bound to him. The system showed an empty crew roster and empty hold, reminding you that even an SSS ship needed people and capital. Its first core trait was long-range voyaging. Supported by huge freshwater tanks. Storage. Spares. And repair facilities. Properly supplied, the ship could remain at sea for more than 30 days, instead of returning after short coastal trips. A basic purification system could slowly produce fresh water, while ventilated storage reduced spoilage during long-distance trade. More than 30 days of endurance meant distant ports became reachable, without the constant resupply stops that trapped small vessels. The second trait was storm resistance. Built around a heavy keel. Stable ballast. Reinforced rigging. And controlled sail release. Moderate storms would not automatically force retreat. While severe weather carried lower risks of capsizing. Or structural damage. The third trait reinforced the hull against crossbows, muskets. Small cannon fire. Damage. And spreading onboard fires. Independent hull compartments also reduced the chance that one fire or breach would spread through the entire ship. Independent compartments and stronger repair efficiency meant Liu could survive attacks that would cripple normal merchant vessels. The fourth trait increased trade revenue by 30% and became stronger with rarer goods, longer routes, and higher demand. The ship also carried unusual Eastern prestige that could improve dealings with guilds, nobles, officials, and certain special merchants. The Eastern prestige trait could cause certain merchants to offer hidden commissions without Liu searching for them first. Liu understood the real advantage immediately. The treasure ship was not designed for one lucky sail, but for compounding wealth. Longer range unlocked more distant price differences. Giant storage increased volume. and the profit bonus multiplied every successful trade. He walked through a deck wide enough to resemble a plaza and inspected cabins, holds, rigs, and freshly built wooden structures. The cargo hold was so large that walking through it felt closer to entering a warehouse than stepping below deck. Wang Quan's caravel now looked tiny from above, but Liu ignored his rival because an empty giant ship earned nothing. His first priority was capital, cargo, and a route that could turn the treasure ship's capacity into actual money. The merchant system showed only 300 SSS coins available, enough for a household, but painfully small for ocean commerce. At Blackstone Exchange, Liu initially selected cheap beef, mutton, milk, and rum because steady demand reduced his first trip risk. The order cost most of his capital, and the exchange owner treated him like another cautious rookie, learning the market. Liu's first conservative order would have earned money, but it barely used the ship's scale or long-distance strengths. 3 workers named Ram, Barton, and Ian began transporting the goods toward the berth, where Liu said his ship waited. They stopped when they saw the treasure ship's hull, rising above them like a wall, and realized who their customer was. Ian, the youngest, could barely understand how a captain buying ordinary food controlled a vessel larger than many famous warships. Word reached the exchange owner, Evan Black, who hurried to the dock and changed his attitude the moment he saw Liu's ship. Evan Black had initially seen an ordinary rookie purchase, until his workers told him which vessel the goods were approaching. Evan offered to refund Liu's original goods and even add antique furniture, but Liu correctly assumed generosity had a price. The merchant admitted that valuable gems and jewelry were trapped at Silver Sail Port 3 days away by dangerous waters. Black Shark pirates had been targeting traffic on the route, leaving ordinary merchant captains unwilling to retrieve Evan's shipment. A vessel as large, fast, and intimidating as Jang He's treasure ship gave Evan a chance to recover the cargo. The stranded jewelry mattered because Evan risked losing both valuable merchandise and the trust of a long-standing customer. The request triggered a special commission, confirming that the ship's prestige could attract opportunities unavailable to ordinary beginners. Accepted the job in principle, but he refused to waste the leverage created by Evan's urgent problem. Instead of taking free starter goods, he demanded a 30% discount on ordinary merchandise throughout Evan's exchange. Liu's demand for a deep discount directly converted the treasure ship's reputation into additional cargo before the first voyage. Evan nearly rejected the demand because that price pushed several products close to or below his normal wholesale margin. Liu calmly reminded him that the Black Shark threat had already stranded a far more valuable shipment at Silver Sail. Few captains could safely retrieve it, and fewer still controlled a ship whose size alone could discourage opportunistic raiders. Evan finally agreed, preferring a painful discount now over losing jewelry. And his trading company's reputation later. Evan accepted only after recognizing that replacing Liu with a normal merchant captain might leave the Silver Sail cargo stranded indefinitely. Liu spent every available coin and stretched 300 sea coins into nearly 900 worth of ordinary goods. He loaded rum, meat, milk, tobacco, cheese, ironware, cloth, and other reliable cargo for resale at Silver Sail. The discounted order expanded into barrels and crates across several categories instead of one expensive luxury item. Even after the purchase, the treasure ship's enormous hold was less than 5% occupied. Zhang stared into the empty storage space and joked that Liu had awakened a moving warehouse instead of a ship. 300 sea coins still filled less than 1/20th of the hold, exposing how badly Liu needed larger capital. That exaggeration was close enough to the truth. Liu's biggest early limitation was no longer capacity, but the money to fill it. The dock workers unloading the exchange cart became fascinated with the ship, and several asked whether Liu needed permanent sailors. The merchant system let him inspect their aptitude, basic abilities, and loyalty instead of guessing from appearances alone. Ram and Barton were ordinary workers with useful experience, but Ian carried a green aptitude and a rare sailing ability. The system rated Ian above the older workers because his rare upwind ability gave him future value on difficult routes. Ian's upwind sailing skill could increase speed when other ships slowed, making him especially valuable for long ocean routes. Liu hired Ian first, then decided the treasure ship needed a much larger temporary crew simply to leave harbor safely. At the recruitment area, he announced that Jang He's treasure ship needed 100 temporary sailors for its first voyage. He expected to negotiate wages, but the ship's reputation reversed the usual hiring process before he finished speaking. Experienced sailors crowded around him, some offering to work for half price and others willing to delay payment until arrival. Several applicants competed by lowering their own wages because sailing the Eastern Giant could strengthen their future resumes. Serving aboard such an extraordinary vessel promised experience and prestige that ordinary deck work could never provide. Liu selected 100 strong sailors with reasonable experience and clean backgrounds, rather than accepting everyone who rushed forward. Among them were Bruno Kane, Turner, and Hank Wood, men who quickly took responsibility for rigging, supplies and cargo. Bruno, Rex, and Hank soon became recognizable core crew because they accepted responsibility instead of waiting for constant instructions. Their combined wages were substantial, but sailing an enormous 9-masted ship with only a handful of people was impossible. The crew marched toward the berth together, drawing attention from everyone who had watched the treasure ship dominate Blackstone's skyline. Tang Yuxuan watched from her small sailboat with a smile, while Zhang Zheng wondered how Liu had built a crew so quickly. Wang Quan had struggled to recruit even a weaker sailor because his expensive caravel offered little and limited prospects. Seeing Yu attract capable workers without deposits showed him that an SSS ship created advantages far beyond raw speed. Once the 100 sailors boarded, every mast, rope, and station finally had enough hands for the first departure. The minimum crew requirement existed because the treasure ship's enormous sail plan could not be controlled by a few rookies. The system confirmed the minimum crew requirement had been met and activated Evan Black's delivery commission to Silver Sailport. It also warned that Black Shark pirate activity had recently increased along the route Liu intended to sail. Instead of canceling, Liu reviewed the ship's defenses, cargo, crew, and speed before deciding the risk remained acceptable. He took the helm, ordered the sails raised, and guided Jang He's treasure ship away from Blackstone Harbor. All 9 masts caught the wind together, and the giant hull pushed white water aside with surprising acceleration. Leaving Blackstone required synchronized work across 9 masts. Steering, rigging, security, and lookout positions. Nearby rookie ships were rocked by the wake as Liu's vessel passed them, without even operating at its full potential. The system displayed a cruising speed above 20 knots, roughly double or triple what many beginner vessels could sustain. Wang Quan's speed talent could improve his own ship, but it could not erase the physical limits of a much smaller hull. Liu realized a route taking ordinary beginners nearly 12 days might require only about 3 aboard his treasure ship. The speed advantage shortened not only travel time but also food consumption, wages per trip, and exposure to route hazards. Time itself had become another trading advantage, because faster travel meant more trips, fresher goods, and less exposure to danger. Ian calculated the same numbers and confirmed Silver Sail could be reached in roughly 3 days if conditions remained favorable. Ship also avoided many detours required by fragile vessels, because moderate rough water did not force immediate retreat. Liu handed the helm to Bruno after hours of steering and entered captain's quarters more comfortable than many homes ashore. The room contained a real bed, private washing space, storage, and enough stability to rest while crossing open water. There he opened the regional student sailing channel and saw how brutally different other rookies' first days had become. The student channel showed that favorable spawn locations could still become useless when rookies lacked capital or practical trade knowledge. Some students were vomiting on tiny boats, some hauling cargo for coins, and others losing goods to spoilage or bad pricing. One rookie had appeared near cannibals, while another could barely afford sailors despite reaching a famous European port. One student was washing dishes, another hauling cargo, while others had already damaged rented ships or spoiled their first merchandise. Liu compared those struggles with his own loaded ship, special commission, extreme speed, and favorable trade bonus. His estimated sale at Silver Sail could turn 300 initial coins into well over 1,000 after the ship's bonus. That estimate excluded Evan's commission reward, making the first voyage potentially more profitable than most rookies could imagine. The advantage was enormous, But Liu refused to celebrate money he had not earned, while Black Shark pirates still controlled the route. Liu treated the comparison as information rather than victory, because unsold estimates could disappear with one bad storm or pirate attack. He closed the channel and began studying everything available about the pirate crew before the sea could test his new ship. Public records described Black Shark as a medium-armed clipper, crewed by roughly 80 to 120 pirates. Their preferred tactic was hiding near storms, rushing smaller merchants, using light cannons to damage rigging, then boarding in numbers. 6 light cannons and 2 ballistae made them terrifying against rookies, but their flagship was not built for heavy frontal punishment. Black Shark's main weakness was its fragile hull, because the gang preferred intimidating small merchants rather than trading heavy broadsides. Liu noted that weakness because Jang He's reinforced hull could endure lighter fire far better than a normal starter vessel. More importantly, the treasure ship was faster, meaning he could refuse a bad engagement instead of accepting whatever pirates demanded. He ordered extra watches through the gray mist area, where Black Shark sightings were most common, and kept the crew ready. Hours passed with no attack, suggesting the pirates either missed them or decided the enormous eastern ship was not easy prey. Their absence on the outward trip suggested the treasure ship's size could deter danger, even before level 2 intimidation existed. The crew relaxed slightly once sunlight returned, but the route still had another danger waiting beyond the mist. Ian warned that a storm belt was forming ahead and would become difficult to avoid without a large detour. Smaller ships nearby began changing course early, choosing extra days of travel rather than entering worsening wind and waves. Lose, because storm resistance existed precisely to preserve routes. Ordinary ships were forced to abandon. Dark clouds swallowed the horizon, wind hammered the rigging, and waves rose until spray repeatedly crashed over the bow. The sailors tightened lines and watched the enormous hull for the kind of violent rolling they expected from severe weather. Instead, the heavy keel absorbed the sea's movement, while automatic sail controls released dangerous wind pressure before it became catastrophic. The storm tested ballast, rigging, security, and crew discipline simultaneously, instead of proving only one defensive statistic. Water slammed against the sides, yet cargo remained secured, and the ship continued following its course through the storm. Ian watched the vessel hold together and finally understood that Liu's talent was more valuable than a dramatic assessment score. A ship that kept moving through bad weather could arrive, while competitors were still waiting for safer seas. The storm eventually weakened behind them with no major cargo loss. Flooded hold, or serious hull damage. Nothing important broke during the crossing, so Liu preserved both delivery time and saleable cargo quality. Bruno laughed that they had not survived a storm so much as walk through one wearing a fortress. The experience increased crew loyalty because sailors trusted a ship most after watching it protect them from something real. Liu accepted that as the first concrete proof that his SSS advantages mattered beyond speed and appearance. By the third day, Silver Sail Harbor's lighthouse appeared ahead, confirming Ian's estimate and cutting an ordinary 12-day route dramatically. Harbor officials had already noticed the massive ship, and one greeted Liu personally when the treasure vessel entered the deep berth. Silver Sail's harbor master treated the eastern vessel carefully because its deep draft and scale exceeded normal rookie berths. Silver Sail had been suffering supply shortages because Black Shark activity kept merchants away from the route, connecting it with Blackstone. That scarcity made Liu's ordinary rum, meat, tobacco, and cloth, cheese, and milk far more desirable than usual. A local exchange owner examined the cargo expecting the treasure ship to be full, then learned it occupied only a tiny fraction. Local buyers had been waiting for precisely the categories Blackstone could supply when pirates did not block the route. Liu negotiated from a strong position because the port needed his goods more than he needed the first buyer's offer. The trade closed at prices high enough to transform the discounted Blackstone cargo into a substantial first profit. His ship's 30% revenue boost increased the result further, proving that every successful deal would compound faster than normal commerce. System added reputation for delivering urgently needed supplies and improved Liu's relationship with Silver Sail Port. The first completed trade converted theoretical bonuses into settled sea coins Liu could actually spend. Jang He's treasure ship also gained growth experience from the successful voyage and rose to level 2. The upgrade improved basic performance and unlocked an aura of dominance that pressured low-level pirate ships and weaker opponents. Level 2 strengthened the ship without replacing the need for weapons, because intimidation could fail against determined or organized enemies. Liu immediately understood its practical use. Some battles could now be discouraged before a cannon ever fired. The successful sale left him with enough liquid capital to think beyond simple food and low-margin starter cargo. Before returning, however, he still needed to retrieve the jewelry Evan Black had entrusted to Silver Sail. The valuable consignment was worth far more than Liu's original trade goods and could attract exactly the pirates Evan feared. The local merchant warned him that transporting it back would be dangerous now that rumors of the treasure ship had spread. Liu accepted the cargo because completing a contract mattered more than using someone else's valuables for his own short-term spending. Evan's jewelry was mission cargo, so using it as collateral or speculative inventory would have violated the trust behind the commission. He could see thousands of sea coins within reach, yet those coins were not his until Evan's commission ended. The distinction mattered because repetition would eventually open more profitable doors than cheating one merchant ever could. Liu next inspected Silver Sail's weapons market, remembering that strong defense did not mean his ship could attack effectively. System measurements showed the treasure ship had enormous potential gun positions, including space for weapons far beyond beginner standards. Fully armed, it could become the sea fortress its hull already resembled, but Liu did not have the money for that transformation. System measurements showed room for far more artillery than Liu could currently afford, revealing another long-term growth path. Some premium naval guns cost more than everything he had earned, making a complete armament package impossible for the moment. Instead, he searched for a practical stopgap, capable of punishing pirate vessels that tried to close for boarding. A weapons dealer showed him heavy naval cannons powerful enough to punch through wooden hulls at useful combat range. Liu bargained hard over the gun's mounts, ammunition powder, and installation rather than paying the first quoted price. After negotiations, he purchased 4 heavy cannons, with the necessary equipment and assistant to mount them aboard the treasure ship. The heavy cannons were purchased with mounts, powder, shot, and installation, rather than as useless bare barrels. The purchase consumed most of his fresh cash, but sea coins inside a pouch could not stop a pirate broadside. Shipwrights expected the enormous hull to need reinforcement, then discovered its structure could accept the heavy weapons almost immediately. 4 gun positions were prepared, while the ship barely shifted under loads that would destabilize much smaller merchant vessels. Craftsmen were surprised that the treasure ship's existing structure accepted the weapon weight without dangerous listing or emergency reinforcement. When installation finished, the system confirmed that Jang He's treasure ship had acquired basic ranged combat capability. The dark cannon muzzles changed the ship's silhouette from a giant merchant vessel into something far more dangerous. Liu also inspected the bow's massive bronze ram, realizing the hull itself could become a weapon if an enemy survived cannon fire. The bronze ram turned the bow's mass into a close-range option if cannon fire could not stop an approaching vessel. Bruno approved of the combination because pirates relied on fragile speed, numbers, hooks, and boarding rather than armored line battles. 4 heavy guns would not defeat every fleet, but they gave Liu a way to break an attack before pirates reached the rails. Ammunition and powder were loaded separately, while Hank organized safe storage to reduce the chance of an onboard explosion. Ian reviewed sail handling and firing angles so the helmsman could keep enemies inside effective arcs without sacrificing speed. Ian's maneuver planning mattered because a powerful cannon outside its firing angle was no more useful than an unloaded one. Liu used the remaining time to learn the safest order for turning, aiming, firing, and accelerating with such a large vessel. He did not want his first real battle to become an experiment conducted while dozens of armed men were closing in. Silver Sail's harbor lights faded behind them when the treasure ship finally began the return journey toward Blackstone Port. The hold now carried Evan's high-value jewelry along with new supplies, while the 4 heavy cannons waited loaded near the gun ports. Liu knew the return trip was more dangerous because pirates followed valuable cargo, not empty ships traveling toward a market. Rumors about the Silver Sail jewelry made the return voyage more visible to anyone watching profitable departures. Reports suggested Black Shark scouts watched Silver sail and could learn when a profitable merchant vessel departed. Rather than hoping they stayed away, Liu prepared his crew as if contact were inevitable once they entered the gray mist. Bruno organized deck fighters. Rex handled teams. Hank guarded ammunition. And Ian remained focused on speed and positioning. The treasure ship's level 2 intimidation aura added another layer, weakening the nerve of ordinary raiders who approached too closely. The new dominance aura could discourage weak raiders, but Black Shark's veterans had survived long enough to be more ambitious. You still refused to depend on fear alone, because an experienced pirate captain could ignore pressure if the prize looked rich enough. As fog thickened, visibility collapsed, and every sound carried strangely across water, hidden only a short distance away. Lookouts reported scattered movement while Liu kept the ship on course, instead of wandering through the mist searching for trouble. His objective remained delivering Evan's cargo, and fighting unnecessary enemies would only risk the contract for no guaranteed gain. For a time, nothing appeared, but the silence felt less comforting now that rumor could place the treasure ship directly on Black Shark's map. Liu rotated the cannon crews through readiness drills, so nobody would freeze when an actual target emerged from the fog. Repeated drills taught temporary sailors where powder, shot, ropes, and emergency tools belonged before combat made the deck chaotic. He emphasized that the treasure ship's size was an advantage, only if every sailor followed orders quickly enough to use it. A slow response could let small pirate craft swarm the hull. Throw hook, sails, or force a chaotic close fight. The sailors repeated loading sequences until powder, shot, aiming, and recoil control became familiar rather than theoretical. Ian also practiced rapid sail adjustments, because a single turn could decide whether the heavy guns faced an enemy or empty sea. Ian practiced using speed to expose one side of the treasure ship while protecting the other from simultaneous boarding attempts. Liu watched the crew improve and understood why money spent on reliable people mattered nearly as much as money spent on equipment. The treasure ship provided overwhelming potential. But potential still needed trained hands to become speed. And profit. When the mist briefly opened, no pirates were visible. Yet, signs of recent rain appeared in debris drifting across the route. Broken planks, rope, and damaged go reminded the crew that Black Shark's victims were real merchant sailors rather than stories. Floating wreckage from earlier victims showed that the pirate route was already costing ordinary merchants ship cargo and lives. Some temporary sailors grew nervous, and Liu answered by assigning tasks instead of giving them empty speeches about courage. Men with specific ropes to hold, guns to load, and angles to watch had less time to imagine what might attack them. Liu answered nervousness with assignments, because clear responsibilities were more useful than generic promises that nobody would get hurt. The treasure ship continued, at a speed few pirate vessels could comfortably match, allowing Liu to control when distance changed. A lookout finally reported sails moving inside the fog behind them, but the contact disappeared before identification became certain. Liu did not turn around. If scouts were watching, he preferred they carry back the image of 4 prepared heavy guns. A distant scout could report the treasure ship's weapons, but it could also report how valuable the silver sail cargo looked. The crew cleared the worst of the mist and expected the danger to pass. But Black Shark had not abandoned the opportunity. Information about the valuable silver sail shipment was already spreading through criminal channels faster than Liu realized. His enormous ship looked intimidating, yet its cargo looked rich enough to tempt men who had survived years by taking risks. Back aboard, Liu reviewed his remaining ammunition and ordered every gun kept ready, as the route narrowed toward Blackstone waters. The treasure ship remained lightly loaded, compared with its capacity, giving it better acceleration than during the outward voyage. The return load remained tiny compared with total capacity, allowing the treasure ship to accelerate more freely during pursuit or escape. That meant any pirate trying to trap it would face a merchant vessel capable of both heavy impact and unexpectedly high speed. Liu considered escaping if the enemy force proved unreasonable, because protecting the commission still mattered more than pride. If the attackers exposed a weakness, however, the new cannons and reinforced hull gave him permission to answer aggressively. Liu's decision threshold stayed practical. Escape overwhelming danger, but punish attackers when preparation created a favorable engagement. This was the first time his merchant strategy and combat preparation truly intersected around the same shipment. A profitable contract had attracted danger. Danger had justified armament, and armament could now create opportunities unavailable before. The cycle made one lesson obvious. In the Great Voyage World, wealth without sea power could be stolen overnight. The relationship between commerce and combat became unavoidable. Once valuable cargo repeatedly attracted people willing to steal it. Liu intended to build both at the same time, letting trade finance weapons and weapons protect the next trade. As evening settled over the route, the crew entered another bank of gray fog and finally heard signals from multiple approaching vessels. This time the movement did not fade, and Liu knew Black Shark's real test was about to begin. Signals inside the second fog bank confirmed that the next encounter involved coordinated enemies rather than one cautious scout. Shapes multiplied inside the fog until lookouts counted a coordinated group spreading across both sides of the treasure ship. The system identified Black Shark pirate vessels and confirmed that their flagship, commanded by Buck Landon, had locked on to Liu. 13 ships formed the attacking group, far larger than the single pirate clipper some records had suggested. Buck Landon had gathered additional galleys because rumors described a young captain carrying valuable silver sail jewelry. Buck Landon expected the jewelry shipment to compensate for the risk of attacking a vessel already famous for unusual size. He assumed numbers would overwhelm a merchant ship regardless of its size, especially once grappling crews reached the deck. Liu studied the formation and immediately rejected escape because the enemy had already committed smaller ships across his route. More importantly, the pirate craft were wooden, lightly protected, and approaching directly into the range of his new heavy cannons. He ordered every sailor to remain at his assigned station and warned that uncontrolled panic would help the pirates more than cannon fire. Buck Landon shouted across the water for Liu to surrender the jewelry and save his crew from being slaughtered. His surrender demand assumed Liu would value cargo more than resistance, exactly as ordinary merchants often did. Liu answered by telling his gunners to prepare the forward weapons instead of wasting breath on a pirate ultimatum. The nearest 3 galleys accelerated first, planning to hook the treasure ship and create openings for the rest. He adjusted sail angles just enough to maintain speed while keeping the lead attacker inside the heavy gun's firing line. Liu personally corrected the first cannon's aim as the system displayed distance and confirmed the wooden target ahead. At the proper range, he gave the order, and the first heavy naval cannon exploded with a roar across the gray water. The shot tore into the approaching galley before its boarding crew could throw a single hook over the treasure ships. The first cannonball proved the pirates had misjudged both Jang He's range and the discipline of its newly trained gunners. Splintered planks and bodies scattered as the pirate vessel lost control, immediately breaking the confidence of ships following behind it. The second gun fired into another galley, while the treasure ship's dominance aura lowered morale across the surrounding pirate formation. Buck Landon's plan depended on rapid boarding, but every second spent approaching now exposed his men to weapons they had underestimated. Once the lead attackers broke, ships behind them had to maneuver around wreckage while still closing under fire. Liu kept the treasure ship moving rather than stopping for a broadside, forcing smaller attackers to chase a target faster than expected. Another pirate vessel tried the opposite side, only for Rex and Ian to rotate the ship until a waiting gun found its angle. Heavy shots smashed through hulls that had been built for raiding merchants rather than surviving concentrated naval fire. Several pirate crews still attempted grappling hooks, but the treasure ship's towering sides made climbing far harder than their usual attacks. Hooks slipped, lines snapped, and sailors above cut away ropes before enough pirates could establish a foothold. The treasure ship's height forced boarding lines upward at bad angles, reducing the pirates' greatest numerical advantage. Bruno led the deck defenders where boarding attempts came closest, preventing scattered attackers from turning into a serious melee. Within minutes, Buck Landon watched ships sink, break formation, or drift crippled while Jang He's hull remained almost untouched. The Black Shark captain finally understood that the eastern vessel was not a rich merchant waiting to be robbed. He ordered retreat before the remaining ships were destroyed, but retreating from Yu created a different problem. The treasure ship was faster than the pirate flagship, even while carrying Evan's valuable cargo and a full crew. Liu ordered full sail and Ian caught south of west wind until the massive vessel accelerated beyond 20 knots. Ian's sail work transformed retreat into pursuit, letting the giant vessel close on a flagship built to escape merchants. The bronze ram at the bow pointed toward Black Shark's stern as the distance collapsed faster than Buck Landon expected. Panic spread across the pirate flagship when sailors saw a hull resembling a moving city wall bearing down directly behind them. Buck Landon screamed for a turn, but the smaller vessel could not clear the line before Jang He's bow reached it. Liu gave one final command, and the 15-meter bronze ram struck through the flagship's stern with overwhelming momentum. Its wood burst apart, seawater flooded inside, and the famous Black Shark split through its middle beneath the treasure ship's weight. The bronze ram did what the new cannons could not, physically ending the pirate captain's final attempt to flee. The pirate flagship that had terrorized the route for years became wreckage after one collision. When firing stopped, all 13 attacking ships had been sunk or destroyed beyond recovery. Jang He's treasure ship suffered only minor damage, lost no cargo, and recorded no crew deaths in the engagement. Cargo loss remained zero, preserving Evan's commission even after a battle involving 13 hostile ships. 5 sailors carried minor injuries, but the system rated the battle a total victory and awarded substantial combat experience. The ship's renown increased sharply, and loyalty rose among crewmen who had watched their captain defeat impossible-looking numbers. Liu did not waste time celebrating because floating cargo and damaged pirate vessels still contained years of stolen value. He sent boats to recover usable goods while Bruno, Hank, and selected sailors boarded the surviving section of Black Shark's flagship. Crates contained rum, tobacco, silverware, cloth, spices, jewelry, and other merchandise stolen from merchants along the route. Hank estimated the immediately recoverable cargo alone at several thousand sea coins, more than enough to cover Liu's recent weapons purchase. The recovered goods represented stolen wealth from many previous victims, rather than a reward created by the system. Inside the ruined captain's cabin, Liu found a rating chart marked with more than 100 attacked merchant vessels. That record showed how much wealth Black Shark had extracted from the route and suggested larger hidden stores existed elsewhere. A sealed black chest in the cabin carried the pirate crew's emblem and required a key Buck Landon still possessed. The sealed chest mattered because Buck Landon had protected it separately from ordinary plunder scattered around the cabin. The captive captain initially denied knowing anything, but the destruction around him left little room for bargaining. Bruno recovered the key from Buck Landon's boot, and Liu opened the chest under the system's inspection. Inside lay a blue-quality gray mist reef treasure map, a Black Shark emblem, and Buck Landon's navigation log. The map marked a hidden reef cavern believed to contain years of accumulated pirate plunder. The blue treasure map pointed toward a reef cavern, instead of placing the hidden pirate wealth directly aboard the flagship. The emblem could prove the crew's destruction to port authorities, while the navigation log documented raids and black market contacts. Buckland's navigation log also listed black market relationships that could interest guilds, officials, or investigators later. Liu also kept Buck Landon alive because a captured pirate leader could bring more bounty and intelligence than a corpse. The system valued the recovered loose cargo at roughly several thousand sea coins before counting the map or future bounty. Ian asked whether they should sail directly toward the hidden reef and collect whatever treasure Black Shark had stored there. Liu refused because Evan's jewelry remained aboard, and completing the accepted commission came before chasing optional wealth. Choosing delivery over the treasure cavern prevented a profitable side objective from corrupting the priority of an accepted contract. The treasure map would still exist after delivery, while losing someone else's cargo would destroy trust Liu had only begun building. He ordered the ship back toward Blackstone Port, with the pirate loot secured and the prisoners under guard. With Black Shark's fleet destroyed, large-scale pirate pressure on the Grey Mist route immediately dropped. News traveled faster than the treasure ship, and merchants in Blackstone heard that an eastern vessel had eliminated the entire gang. Blackstone merchants celebrated because eliminating Black Shark reduced insurance, escort, and loss risks along a critical commercial route. By the time Liu returned, crowds already packed the harbor to see the captain who had reopened a dangerous trade route. Evan Black cared first about his jewelry and visibly relaxed when every entrusted piece was returned intact. Completing the commission proved Liu could be trusted with valuable cargo, despite having possessed enough strength to simply take it. The delivery deepened their business relationship and gave Evan a reason to offer better opportunities on future voyages. Port authorities also accepted the black shark emblem and captive captain as evidence of what had happened in the gray mist. Returning the pirate leader alive created evidence that port authorities could question instead of relying on battlefield claims alone. Merchants whose routes had been threatened now treated Jang He's name as something closer to protection than an unknown rookie ship. Lu's first deep-sea trade results. Pirate loot. Bounty prospects. And growing reputation placed him far ahead of most classmates. Zhang was still earning modest dock wages and trying to finance a second-hand ship of his own. Other students remained trapped by spoiled goods. Bad exchange prices. Deposits. And routes too dangerous to attempt. Wang Quan had suffered especially badly, losing cargo to pirates and taking debt while repairing damage to his caravel. Liu had no reason to mock him further, because the Great Voyage World had already delivered a harsher lesson than any argument. The more useful development was how Blackstone now reacted whenever Liu's sailors mentioned another departure. Experienced crewmen began asking for positions instead of demanding deposits, giving Liu access to stronger labor at better terms. He dismissed 12 temporary sailors who had tried to surrender or flee during the Black Shark battle. The 12 dismissed sailors had wanted surrender or escape during the moment discipline mattered most. They received the wages they had earned, but Bruno added their names to a blacklist for future Jang He voyages. Liu needed people who could follow orders under pressure, because one panicked crewman could endanger an entire gun team or mast. 32 stronger recruits replaced them, including veterans with port guard experience and practical gunnery knowledge. Replacing them with veterans increased both combat reliability and gunnery experience before the much longer Lisbon voyage. Grayson, a scarred former guard, openly said he feared having no worthy ship more than he feared pirates. The system rated the new group above average in sailing experience, combat will, and useful weapon familiarity. Liu accepted them under one rule: follow orders and earn money, or disobey at sea and leave the crew. With manpower improved, he began preparing a far more ambitious voyage toward Lisbon, one of Europe's legendary trading ports. The next expedition was not merely farther away. It crossed waters where normal pirate tactics were no longer the only threat. Lisbon offered enormous demand. Wealthy noble customers. And prices capable of multiplying valuable Blackstone goods. The route was also much longer and crossed waters ordinary beginners avoided, including the feared whaling trench. Liu considered the risk acceptable because his ship's long-range endurance, storm resistance, armament, and growing crew were designed for expansion. Instead of treating the next voyage as another small test, he planned to carry goods whose value could justify crossing dangerous seas. Blackstone merchants now competed to place cargo aboard his ship because the destruction of Black Shark had changed his reputation overnight. Blackstone suppliers now approached Liu because his first successful voyages had proved the ship could actually deliver expensive cargo. Liu selected high-value items with strong demand in Lisbon rather than filling the hold blindly with whatever sellers offered. Pearls crafted jewelry. High-purity foods. Mithril materials. And local handicrafts became part of the shipment. Master-crafted jewelry carried especially high upside because Lisbon's noble market valued scarce luxury work more than beginner ports. His treasure ship could carry all of it without approaching its real storage limit, leaving room for opportunities discovered later. The crew restocked fresh water. Provisions, powder. Cannonballs. Repair supplies. And replacement sail materials before departure. The crew replenished powder after Black Shark, rather than assuming 4 surviving cannons meant the ship remained combat-ready. Ian inspected the rigging. Hank secured ammunition. Rex checked the 4 heavy guns. And Bruno organized veteran sailors by station. Jiang watched from the harbor while holding paperwork for his own used vessel, and admitted the difference between their starts was enormous. Zhang's used ship loan showed he was progressing too, only at the slower pace available to an ordinary rookie. Wang Quan called the Lisbon route reckless after what pirates had already done to him on a shorter voyage. Liu ignored the warning because avoiding every dangerous route would also mean abandoning the price differences his ship was built to exploit. He was not sailing blindly. Every additional mile had been weighed against speed, value, and available information. The Black Shark battle had also shown that danger could become profit when preparation turned an attacker into loot. Still, Liu did not expect every future threat to be as simple as wooden pirate ships and ordinary cannon fire. Liu expected unknown sea monsters, precisely because school warnings and whaling trench reports extended beyond conventional piracy. Stories surrounding the whaling trench described vessels disappearing without wreckage and sailors hearing impossible voices inside heavy fog. Even warships sometimes detoured around that region, rather than gambling against something they did not understand. Liu gave the order to cast off anyway, and Jang He's 9 sails opened above a harbor packed with spectators. Spectators watched the second departure differently, because Jang He now carried a battle record, rather than only an impressive appearance. The treasure ship left Blackstone for Lisbon carrying richer cargo, stronger sailors, 4 heavy cannons, and a reputation earned in battle. The Lisbon cargo itself had become a test of whether you could convert combat reputation into true long-distance commercial power. Blackstone's harbor officials cleared a deep-water lane for departure because the giant vessel could not safely weave through crowded small craft. Evan Black came personally to watch, recognizing that a successful Lisbon run might restore direct trade across dangerous western waters. In the hold sat cargo worth far more than Liu had ever handled before, along with the unrecovered Grey Mist treasure map. The voyage plan crossed the Pirate Reef area, the whaling trench, and then continued toward Lisbon if the ship survived both. The Grey Mist Reef and whaling trench lay near the same route, making the direct western course efficient but dangerous. Once clear of port, the treasure ship accelerated smoothly until its 9 sails carried it near 24 knots. Warships, escort gunboat, and privateers appeared along the established route, revealing how heavily armed serious Lisbon traffic had become. Ordinary merchants rarely sailed alone because profitable ocean lanes attracted dangers capable of erasing months of earnings in minutes. Yet even armed escorts gave Jang He's treasure ship space because its towering hull and 4 heavy cannons demanded respect. Even warships giving Jang He space reinforced that the treasure ship's scale already influenced traffic behavior before combat began. Grayson explained that most independent merchants either joined guild convoys or paid warships rather than cross these waters alone. Liu understood the lesson differently. Knowing where prices were highest meant nothing without enough strength to reach those markets alive. He ordered Ian to stay near the established route until they approached the Grey Mist Reef and whaling trench boundaries. Detouring around both regions would consume time and abandon opportunities connected to Black Shark's hidden treasure and the direct Lisbon route. Liu still avoided random exploration because profitable risk required an objective, not simply proving that his ship could survive danger. The first day remained unusually calm, and even the new sailors gradually relaxed as the treasure ship crossed open water. Then a system notification appeared, combining previous combat experience and continuous ocean sailing into another ship upgrade. Level 3 arrived from accumulated pirate battle experience, plus continuous open ocean sailing, rather than from one isolated trigger. Jang He's treasure ship rose to level 3. Increasing durability, speed, cargo stability, and crew adaptation. More importantly, it unlocked a special trait tied to the vessel's identity as a Great Eastern Expedition ship. The new ability generated a stabilizing presence that reduced crew anxiety, panic, auditory hallucinations, and conflict during long voyages. The stabilizing aura addressed mental fatigue from long voyages, a threat ordinary armor could never stop. It also increased resistance against lower-tier eerie waters. Effects, songs, illusion disasters, and intimidating supernatural threats. The ability added no cannon damage, yet Liu immediately valued it because ships could collapse from frightened crews before their hulls failed. Ian felt the difference without seeing the system, noticing that the entire deck suddenly seemed calmer despite their approaching destination. Rex immediately asked whether the upgrade also created room for more cannons, earning laughter from men who knew his priorities. The brief humor helped, but by the following evening even experienced sailors stopped joking as the water changed color. The deck's humor disappeared when cold, damp air and abnormal watercolor announced the trench before any siren appeared. Its blue sea became dark gray. Damp cold entered the wind, and a thin fog began crawling across the surface. Other warships disappeared from sight because captains familiar with the region had already chosen the longer route around it. Ian's compass started drifting as they reached the outer edge of the Whaling Trench, confirming something inside distorted navigation. The compass needle swayed despite a steady hull, showing the region interfered with navigation itself rather than simply visibility. Liu ordered battle stations, forbade anyone from approaching the railing without permission, and placed heavy men near vulnerable sailors. Thick rope was prepared, so anyone losing control could be restrained before walking willingly into the black water. The treasure ship entered the fog while the sea became unnaturally quiet. With no bird, sails, or ordinary marine sounds. A huge shadow briefly moved beneath the surface, but Liu could not identify it before darkness swallowed shape again. Liu briefly saw something enormous move below the dark surface, but no reliable identification followed. Then a faint melody reached the deck, soft enough to resemble someone humming from impossibly far across the water. Ian heard it too, and his face changed, because every sailor knew what singing inside the Whaling Trench was supposed to mean. The sound grew warmer instead of harsher. Making exhausted men imagine familiar voices calling them toward rest, home, and loved ones. The song imitated intimate memories instead of obvious threats, making affected sailors want to cooperate with their own destruction. One sailor whispered that his mother was waiting, while another insisted a woman named Lena was standing outside the ship. Their eyes glazed over, and they began calling toward the Racco before Grayson and other clear-headed sailors dragged them down. More men started crying, smiling, or speaking to people who were not there as the invisible song strengthened. Some men smiled while approaching the railing, which made the attack more dangerous than ordinary fear or panic. Liu recognized that the enemy was attacking the crew's minds first, turning the ship's own sailors into the real danger. The level 3 stabilizing trait activated passively, reducing the corruption enough to keep most affected men from completely losing control. That resistance bought time, but the song kept increasing and began slipping through the passive protection. Liu ordered everyone to block their ears, restrain anyone acting strangely, and turn the starboard guns toward the sound's source. Cloth helped little because the melody seemed to enter through thought rather than simply traveling through the air. Blocking ears failed because the conscious influence behaved like a supernatural mental effect rather than normal sound. A pale female shape slowly appeared inside the fog, floating low on black water while holding an enormous conch shell. Each note from the conch caused another sailor to weaken, proving the figure was deliberately dismantling the crew before approaching. Bruno knocked men away from the rail, but even his own concentration began slipping as the mental pressure intensified. Liu used the fastest crude countermeasure available, striking entranced sailors hard enough to interrupt the visions controlling them. Pain worked only as a temporary interruption, buying moments until the ship's stronger defensive trait could be activated. The method looked ridiculous, yet several men regained focus after Pain broke the pleasant hallucinations for a few moments. He reminded them they had come to sea to earn money, not volunteer themselves as food for something hiding in fog. The temporary recovery ended when the conch rose into a sharper note and pushed even Ian down onto one knee. Liu realized passive resistance had reached its limit and immediately headed below the main mast into the ship's core chamber. There, an amber vessel spirit light hovered above the structure, connecting the ship's keel to its special level 3 power. The system offered an active enhancement of the Eastern Expedition trait at the cost of stored ship energy. Liu accepted without hesitation because preserving energy meant nothing if the entire crew walked overboard before leaving the trench. The active trait consumed reserve energy, so Liu used it only after passive resistance could no longer protect the crew. Amber light surged from the core and spread through the keel deck, cabins, masts, and outer hull. From outside, the enormous treasure ship became wrapped in a restrained golden barrier, resembling a fortified city wall on water. The amber barrier surrounded the entire vessel instead of shielding only Liu, preserving the crew required to operate the ship. The conch song suddenly sounded distant to the sailors, as if an unseen door had closed between their minds and the siren. Men who had been whispering to dead relatives collapsed onto the deck, confused and horrified by what they had almost done. Ian explained that the captain had activated a ship trait, giving the crew a reason for the impossible clarity returning to them. Bruno laughed in relief, while the trapped enemy continued blowing the conch and failed to regain control of a single sailor. The fog thinned enough for everyone to see pale skin, blue eyes, and the conch held against the woman's mouth. Once the fog thinned, the source of the attack proved to be a lone conch-bearing siren rather than an invisible fleet. Her usual weapon had neutralized countless travelers, but Jang He's active protection now reduced it to harmless sound. Liu returned to the deck and watched the creature recognize that her safest method of killing had stopped working. When the siren tried diving beneath the surface, he ordered the starboard gun crew to aim beside her rather than directly at her body. Rex fired a heavy cannon into the water, creating a violent underwater shockwave close enough to interrupt the escape. Liu ordered a near miss because the underwater shock could stun the siren without destroying the information she carried. The blast stunned the siren instead of killing her, exactly matching Liu's order to capture rather than destroy an unknown opportunity. Sailors threw lines and hauled the unconscious creature toward the hull, while others watched the black water for additional threats. Once aboard, they discovered that her lower body was fish-like rather than human, confirming the old stories were not exaggerations. A system inspection identified her as a Tier 1 extraordinary creature, a conch-blowing siren with unusual value. The Tier 1 extraordinary classification placed the captive above ordinary wildlife and within the world's supernatural progression system. That classification changed Liu's thinking because extraordinary creatures belonged to a level of power most new captains had never encountered. Killing her might yield materials, but keeping her alive could reveal why the trench existed and what stronger power controlled it. He ordered the captive bound securely and taken to the captain's quarters for questioning once the ship stabilized. The crew searched the nearby water for other sirens, but none immediately challenged the amber-protected treasure ship. No immediate second attacker appeared, preventing the capture from turning into a prolonged fight inside hostile fog. Liu maintained the active barrier, while Ian corrected their heading through the compass interference instead of stopping inside hostile waters. Every minute spent in the trench consumed ship energy, so surviving the song did not justify wandering around without information. The treasure ship pressed forward, leaving the stunned sailors enough work to keep their attention on ropes, sails, guns, and course. Yu understood that the captured siren represented more than money because she had demonstrated a power capable of sinking entire fleets indirectly. If someone stronger commanded creatures like her, the Wailing Trench could become both a massive threat and a hidden questline. A stronger master behind the enslaved siren explained how one creature could be part of a much larger danger. Still, he refused to assume the captive would cooperate merely because cannon fire had pulled her from the water. She regained consciousness, angry, restrained, and clearly intelligent enough to understand that she had become a prisoner rather than cargo. Liu questioned her about the trench, the conch, and the source of the strange power affecting sailors. She resisted, threatened him, and tried to reveal as little as possible, while studying the captain who had defeated her song. System inspection eventually detected a low-tier deep-sea enslavement brand on her, proving another being had imposed control over her. The slave mark gave Liu a concrete mechanism for Sophia's obedience instead of leaving her hostility as unexplained monster behavior. The mark source was identified as Serena, a Tier 2 extraordinary siren queen connected directly to the Wailing Trench. The brand could bind the mind. Force summoning. An influence song-based control. Explaining why the captive's behavior was not entirely voluntary. More importantly, defeating Serena could provide an extraordinary elixir capable of pushing someone into extraordinary power. An extraordinary elixir tied to Serena created a personal power incentive beyond money, cargo, or ship growth. The revelation tempted Liu because such strength normally belonged far beyond the early stage of a rookie navigator's career. He nevertheless compared the opportunity against the ship's current condition, unknown enemy numbers, unknown terrain, invaluable Lisbon cargo. Charging deeper immediately meant risking his vessel and crew against a Tier 2 extraordinary creature with incomplete intelligence. Liu lacked verified information about Serena's numbers, terrain, weapon, and exact attack methods inside the deeper trench. Reaching Lisbon. It's offered predictable profits. It's secure market demand. It's and a chance to prepare before returning. Liu decided the smarter move was continuing west, rather than turning one successful capture into reckless overconfidence. The captive expected him to chase Sereno immediately, then realized he valued controlled profit and preparation over dramatic heroics. Sophia's surprise revealed how unusual it was for a newly triggered hidden quest not to immediately pull a rookie into danger. If Serena pursued them, Liu would fight, but he would not sacrifice the whole expedition, merely because a hidden reward existed. That decision preserved the ship's real objective while keeping the extraordinary quest alive for a stronger future attempt. The active golden barrier continued holding as the fog slowly thinned and the compass needle began returning toward normal. Compass stability returning gave Ian the first reliable sign that the treasure ship had actually crossed beyond the trench's core interference. Sailors watched daylight break through the gray ceiling and understood that they had crossed waters other captains refused to enter. The wailing trench remained dangerous behind them, but the treasure ship had survived without surrendering a single sailor to the song. They had also captured a living extraordinary Siren, carrying evidence that an even stronger queen controlled the region. The captured Siren turned a successful crossing into intelligence about a future enemy rather than merely another completed route. Liu ordered the barrier released once they cleared the worst interference, conserving the remaining reserve energy for whatever came next. Its golden light faded back into the ship, while sunlight spread across 9 masts still driving steadily toward Lisbon. The crew's fear changed into hard-earned confidence because their captain had not merely promised safety, the ship had demonstrated it. With the trench behind them, Liu turned his attention to the captive's identity. The Lisbon market. And the fortune waiting ahead. Liu's next decisions therefore combined 3 priorities. Sell the cargo. Verify Sophia's identity. And prepare for Serena later. The captive finally admitted she had once been human. Which explained why she understood student systems, quests, and modern institutions. Her name was Sophia Loren, and she had entered the Great Voyage World roughly 3 years earlier. She resisted giving details at first because Serena's enslavement brand still influenced what she could reveal and how freely she could act. Sophia's knowledge of student systems confirmed that she had entered this world through the same human program as Liu. The treasure ship's amber power temporarily suppressed that mark, allowing Sophia's original consciousness to surface more clearly. Liu questioned her without rushing deeper into the trench, making it clear that information was more valuable than theatrical threats. Sophia confirmed that Serena controlled the region and possessed powers far beyond the Tier 1 Siren the crew had captured. That knowledge strengthened Liu's decision to postpone confrontation until he could acquire better weapons, allies, and reliable intelligence. Her account turned Serena from a rumor into a named Tier 2 extraordinary target with an identifiable control method. Ian initially expected an immediate attack on Serena, but Liu ordered full speed toward Lisbon instead. He explained that the expedition's primary objective was profitable maritime trade, not cleaning dangerous waters for strangers without compensation. Their hold already contained valuable goods, whose Lisbon prices could fall if they delayed inside an unknown supernatural battlefield. Liu had captured Sophia, obtained intelligence, and triggered a hidden lead without sacrificing the guaranteed opportunity already aboard. Going deeper now meant risking ship, crew, cargo, and capital against an enemy whose terrain and full abilities remained unknown. Ian understood that courage and recklessness were different. A captain had to decide which dangers actually served the voyage. His respect for Liu increased sharply, and the system recorded a major rise in the young navigator's loyalty. Ian's loyalty reaching a high level made betrayal less likely and strengthened Liu's long-term navigation team. That mattered because capable navigators were harder to replace than ordinary sailors, especially on long routes involving weather and charts. Liu returned to the cabin and found Sophia studying him differently after hearing he would not chase Serena immediately. She had expected the captain who captured her to be reckless, but his refusal showed how carefully he measured risk against return. During the remaining voyage, Liu opened the student exchange channel and discovered that roughly half a month had passed. The half-month comparison showed how quickly early family advantages could disappear after maintenance, taxes, wages, and bad decisions accumulated. Its early optimism among rookies had collapsed under repair bills. Its spoiled cargo. Its port taxes. Its bad prices, wages, debts. Its and pirates. Its Jang had finally taken a loan for a used ship, but had not yet completed a profitable trade. Its Wang Quan's situation was worse. Its with negative trade profit. Its damaged equipment. Its cargo. Its an unpaid debt after his pirate encounter. Its Tang Yushuan had earned a modest positive return, placing her ahead of many students simply by avoiding disastrous losses. Its Tang Yushuan's positive result remained respectable because most rookies had discovered that simply avoiding loss was difficult. Its a city trade profit leaderboard then opened. Its counting settled legal trades while excluding unsold cargo. Its bounties and uncompleted opportunities. Its Liu ranked first in Janging by an overwhelming margin, already earning more than 10 times the student in second place. Its Liu's city lead came from settled trade only, leaving pirate loot and future Lisbon returns outside the calculation. His classmates began arguing online about hidden backing because an ordinary family background made the number difficult for them to explain. Liu ignored the speculation and checked the national board, where inherited fleets and powerful families produced much larger early totals. He ranked 9th nationally. While the leaders included heirs connected to maritime kingdoms. Major trading companies. And port-owning families. The national leaders had started with family ports, escorts, fleets, or commercial ownership that Liu's household could never provide. Instead of discouraging him, the stronger competition revealed how large the game could become beyond one school or one harbor. His Lisbon shipment was not settled yet, meaning the leaderboard still showed only a fraction of the value currently moving west. Liu closed the rankings and returned to a more immediate opportunity, identifying exactly who Sophia had been before Serena captured her. A distinctive bracelet and Sophia's own reluctant answers gave him enough information to search public records from 3 years earlier. He found an old notice concerning Sophia Loren, the only daughter of a powerful European noble family. Sophia's public record linked her directly to Count Loren, rather than merely suggesting she belonged to some wealthy family. She had studied navigation and marine biology before disappearing soon after entering the Great Voyage World. Her family searched for more than a year, dispatching fleets and hiring navigators without finding proof that she remained alive. Her disappearance had occurred only weeks after entry, explaining why her family never received a normal long-term progression trail. Public opinion had eventually assumed shipwreck or a siren attack, while the Loren family kept a standing bounty active. The old photograph matched Sophia's face, nice and bracelet, even though the enslaved young woman now possessed a transformed fish-like lower body. The notice promised 10,000 sea coins for valid help bringing Sophia home alive, plus an extraordinary material reward. The extraordinary material bonus mattered because such resources were far harder to buy than ordinary cannon powder or trade goods. It also implied a personal debt from the Loren family, potentially opening noble trade connections inside Lisbon. Liu contacted the family through available channels and arranged for representatives to meet him after his arrival. Contacting House Loren before arrival prevented Liu from reaching Lisbon with a valuable passenger and no secure handover plan. Sophia realized he had confirmed her identity, but the temporary suppression of her slave brand allowed relief to appear beneath her caution. For Liu, rescuing her had become 3 connected assets. Noble bounty, and intelligence about Serena. He still kept those opportunities separate, refusing to count rewards until each one had actually been secured. Outside, the treasure ship continued west, with the Whaling Trench disappearing behind its stern under morning sunlight. Sailors finally relaxed enough to joke about the crude slaps Liu had used to pull bewitched crewmen out of hallucinations. The crew's jokes about the Siren incident replaced fear with a shared memory that strengthened cohesion after the crisis. One young sailor admitted he had seen his mother calling from the sea before pain abruptly returned him to reality. Bruno suggested recording the captain's slap as an emergency anti-siren protocol, earning the first real laughter since entering the trench. Liu accepted the humor because the crew needed to release tension after nearly walking willingly into black water. Ian then noticed a red handprint on Liu's face, revealing that Sophia had managed to strike him during the earlier interrogation. Sophia's slap left a visible 5-finger mark, giving the deck its first harmless mystery after escaping the trench. The captain blamed rough waves inside his cabin, and every sailor politely accepted an explanation nobody actually believed. The embarrassment mattered little beside the information obtained. Sophia's bounty alone could finance major upgrades once they reached Lisbon. Open sea returned to normal, and merchant traffic gradually reappeared as the treasure ship left cursed waters behind. Captains on other vessels watched the nine-masted giant with its heavy guns and gave it unusually generous passing distance. Other captains yielded room partly because Jang He's gunports, an enormous hull, made accidental conflict look especially unwise. Under favorable wind, Jang He's level 3 hull maintained a pace ordinary merchantmen struggled to approach. The only serious slowdown came from a strong eastern Mediterranean headwind that prevented the enormous sails from filling efficiently. Even then, the treasure ship still held roughly 16 to 17 knots, faster than many vessels managed with a tailwind. 16 or 17 knots into a headwind still exceeded what many ordinary merchants achieved under favorable conditions. Liu disliked losing speed, but Ian used his rare upwind sailing talent to turn the problem into a demonstration of skill. He ordered sail angles changed and began tacking across the wind, instead of forcing the ship directly against it. Ian used angled tacking rather than brute force, converting crosswind into forward movement across the ship's huge sail plan. Sail teams adjusted rigging in sequence until the giant hull regained momentum by harvesting crosswinds from different directions. A fast merchant ship ahead watched in disbelief as the enormous eastern vessel began closing from behind despite sailing into the same wind. Its first mate described Jang He's treasure ship as a floating city overtaking them under conditions that should have favored the smaller vessel. The floating city comparison came from another sailor, watching the giant overtake a faster-looking vessel against the wind. The comparison fit the view from a distance. Enormous walls of timber, and a deck broad enough to resemble a plaza. Liu did not possess a literal city, but his SSS ship had grown large and capable enough to look like one at sea. Ian's success also proved why Liu had recruited for aptitude, rather than simply choosing the cheapest available workers at Blackstone. A rare specialist could recover lost speed across hundreds of miles, producing profit far beyond the navigator's wages. Liu used the quiet stretch to plan Lisbon sales, estimating that the shortage caused by the whaling trench would strengthen prices. Liu's Lisbon plan relied on shortage data, not merely an assumption that distant markets always paid more. Many merchants had stopped direct Blackstone traffic because Sirens made the shortest route unacceptable to ordinary ships. That meant the exact goods inside Liu's hold were becoming scarcer every day in Lisbon's wealthy markets. Pearls crafted jewelry, high-proof rum, mithril materials, and regional handicrafts all benefited from restricted supply. Mithril and jewelry offered especially strong upside because noble buyers valued scarcity and craftsmanship together. The longer competitors avoided the trench, the more bargaining power a ship capable of crossing it gained on arrival. Sophia remained aboard as living proof that the danger was real, though Liu kept her identity hidden from the ordinary crew. He did not want news of a missing noble woman spreading through taverns before the Loron family could secure her safely. The bounty arrangement also required discretion, because rival captains or opportunists might interfere if they understood what his passenger was worth. Ship density increased until the horizon filled with merchant fleets, patrols, naval vessels, and private banners. Traffic near Lisbon included vessels belonging to powers far larger than the beginner factions around Blackstone. Compared with rough Blackstone, this sea traffic announced an imperial trading hub, whose wealth depended on constant ocean movement. Ian eventually reported a large port directly ahead, and the entire deck crowded toward safe viewing positions. Lisbon spread across the coast under sunset light, larger and richer than any harbor Yu had entered before. Lisbon's scale visibly separated it from Blackstone's frontier atmosphere before Liu sold a single crate. Fortifications guarded the approaches. Towers watched the water, and deep berths held ships belonging to major trading powers. The crew's fatigue vanished when they realized the dangerous voyage had actually delivered them to Europe's legendary commercial center. Liu studied the harbor instead of celebrating because every warehouse, exchange noble estate, and shipyard represented a different opportunity. Port pilots approached the treasure ship cautiously, needing special handling because a vessel of its size could not use ordinary shallow berths. Deep water pilot procedures mattered because Jang He's draft and turning radius made casual docking unsafe inside crowded commercial lanes. Once permission was secured, Jang He's treasure ship entered Lisbon's deepwater harbor, under hundreds of curious gazes. Dockworkers stopped moving crates. Customs officers looked up, and other captains raised telescopes at the unfamiliar eastern giant. Its arrival created immediate rumors because nine-masted ships from Blackstone had become nearly non-existent since Sirens disrupted the route. The absence of recent Blackstone arrivals made the Eastern treasure ship's origin commercially important, not merely visually unusual. Bruno secured the anchor, while Liu ordered cargo unloaded carefully and kept Sophia inside until the Loron meeting was arranged. The first crates contained East Sea pearls, whose uniform luster attracted merchants before the lids were fully opened. Next came jewelry. High-proof rum. Premium cheese. Mithril materials. And detailed Blackstone handicrafts. Every new category drew more buyers because Lisbon had suffered shortages in precisely those goods. Midsummer noble banquet season was approaching, increasing demand for luxury accessories at the same moment regular supply had collapsed. Noble banquet season amplified demand at exactly the moment Sirens had reduced incoming luxury supply. Exchange owners, who usually waited for captains to beg for offers, began rushing down to the dock themselves. Martin Alves of Golden Oak Leaf Exchange tried to claim the pearls before competing merchants could even inspect them. White Dove Trading Company pushed for both pearls and jewelry, while Red Lion Trading House promised immediate cash settlement. Liu watched several experienced merchants bid against one another and abandoned any idea of walking shop to shop for prices. The market had come directly to his gangway because scarcity transformed his cargo into something buyers feared losing. Instead of naming a low price quickly, he let competition reveal how much Lisbon merchants were actually prepared to pay. The SSS treasure ship's prestige amplified that advantage because buyers assumed a captain who crossed the trench would become a repeat supplier. Future access mattered nearly as much as today's crates, so merchants were negotiating for a relationship rather than one shipment. Buyers hoped a continuing relationship with Liu could secure future access to a route competitors were still avoiding. Liu divided sales strategically rather than giving every category to the first bidder who shouted the loudest. Cash buyers, luxury specialists, and reliable trading houses each received goods where their offers made the strongest sense. As the settlement numbers accumulated, the profit from this single Lisbon voyage began dwarfing everything Liu had earned before. The rookie once mocked for carrying a hand-drawn blueprint now controlled the most contested cargo on Lisbon's waterfront. Final settlement showed the Lisbon shipment producing more than 14,000 sea coins in net profit from one completed voyage. Liu's cumulative settled trade profit climbed above 19,000, placing him first in Jianging and second on the national board. The ranking refresh still lagged behind Liu's newest settlement, so even second place understated his exact position for the moment. The previous national leader had not fallen far behind, but Liu's enormous unsolved bounty opportunities were still excluded. More important than the ranking was how the profit had been created through connected decisions, rather than one accidental windfall. He sourced discounted goods. Chose a distant market. Armed against pirates. Crossed the trench. And arrived where scarcity multiplied prices. Every profitable step depended on a previous operational choice, from discounted loading to surviving the direct whaling trench route. The system recognized that trading profit had crossed a major threshold and raised Liu's personal captain level to 4. He received free attribute points, a skill point, and a permanent fine jewelry specialty that improved future profit in that category. The fine jewelry specialty permanently increased returns rather than granting a one-time payout. 5% looked small beside dramatic combat bonuses, yet on large luxury trades it could become hundreds or thousands of extra coins. Liu immediately marked jewelry as a market worth watching because his system was beginning to reward specialization. At nearly the same moment, Jang He's treasure ship trembled as accumulated trade success pushed the vessel itself to level 4. Hull strength, capacity, speed, storm resistance, and cannon stability all increased again. The upgrade also unlocked Homage of All Nations, a major port trade trait built around prestige and initial goodwill. Homage of All Nations was commercial rather than military, complementing the level 3 trait that stabilized crews and intimidated weaker threats. It's when docking at royal cities or large commercial hubs. It's local merchants. It's officials. It's and nobles would now react more favorably. It's rare goods had a higher chance of triggering premium offers, bidding wars, and approaches from hidden commercial or noble factions. It's Liu understood why that mattered in Lisbon, where status and access could determine prices long before cargo reached an exchange counter. Lisbon's merchant stampede had already demonstrated how much access and reputation could matter in a sophisticated port. Other rookies had to spend months building introductions, while his treasure ship itself could function as a visible reputation signal. The new trait did not guarantee good deals, but it gave Liu more chances to enter rooms ordinary captains never reached. His next priority was obvious after the Whaling Trench: convert profit into stronger firepower before challenging Serena. Liu's plan for Serena therefore began with procurement instead of immediately sailing back into the fog. 4 heavy cannons had crushed wooden pirates. Yet supernatural enemies might require alchemical ammunition. Enchanted weapons. And specialized defenses. Liu ordered Bruno to secure the ship, Ian to register at the harbor, and Hank to inspect the newly upgraded gun positions. Rex was assigned to accompany him later, because nobody on the crew cared more about expanding the treasure ship's artillery. Before they could leave the berth, shouting spread along the dock, and a formally dressed procession pushed through the merchant crowd. Silver-threaded rows, crests identified the approaching group as members and guards of the Loran family. The Loran Rose crest made the approaching procession recognizable before Armin ever introduced himself. At their front walked Armin Loran, Sophia's father, moving so quickly that his steward struggled to keep pace. Lisbon merchants recognized the Count immediately because he belonged to the city's established noble circles and rarely appeared personally at commercial docks. Armin ignored the staring crowd and looked straight toward the eastern ship after asking which young captain had contacted his family. Liu met him at the gangway, and the Count asked the question he had waited 3 years to ask. He wanted to know whether Sophia was truly alive. Not whether Liu had found another rumor. A wreckage fragment. Liu confirmed she was aboard, and the Count physically swayed before his steward caught his arm. Andre Morrow caught the Count because 3 years of grief overwhelmed the noble composure he normally displayed. Years of failed searches had taught Armin to expect disappointment, making one clear answer harder to process than another false lead. He promised every coin from the standing bounty and added that House Loran would owe Liu a personal favor. The merchants who had fought over cargo moments earlier fell quiet when they saw one of Lisbon's nobles negotiating from desperation. Liu understood the Count's urgency, but he did not exploit the reunion by delaying it unnecessarily. He lowered the gangway and invited Armin and Sophia's mother, Lady Isabella, aboard the treasure ship. Their attendants wanted armed guards to follow, but Armin refused because bringing soldiers onto the rescuer's ship would signal distrust. Armin refused armed guards on board because he considered trust an etiquette part of repaying the man who rescued Sophia. That decision told Liu the Count valued courtesy and repayment even while emotionally overwhelmed. Up close, the Lorans finally saw how enormous his deck really was and why the vessel had stunned Lisbon. 4 heavy cannons stood along the structure, but Liu reminded them that the ship was not what they had come to see. Bruno stepped aside from the captain's quarters, and Liu opened the door where Sophia waited near the window. She wore a clean blanket over her shoulders, her long light hair falling around a face still pale from years under Serena's control. The most painful change remained below her waist, where human legs had been replaced by a blue-silver fish-like tail. The transformed tail made clear that bringing Sophia home alive had not restored the body Serena altered. Sophia raised her head, saw her parents in the doorway, and managed a single word that broke the room's restraint. She called Armin father, and Lady Isabella crossed the room immediately, as tears started before she reached her daughter. Armin gripped Sophia's shoulders as if he needed physical proof that the person before him was not another false report. Lady Isabella knelt and held Sophia's face, hearing her daughter say mother after 3 years of silence. Liu remained out of their way because the reunion needed no narrator, sales pitch, or additional proof from him. Armin and Isabella needed several moments before either could look past the reunion toward the damage still remaining. Once the first emotion passed, Armin's eyes moved from Sophia's face to the transformed lower body and dark mark near her neck. Knight's relief turned into controlled anger when he realized rescue had not undone everything done to his daughter. He asked Liu to explain what had happened between Sophia's disappearance and her arrival in Lisbon. Liu described the Siren attack 3 years earlier, when Sophia's vessel was taken in the western waters. She survived the initial attack, but was carried into the Whaling Trench instead of dying in a wreck. Serena used a deep-sea slave brand to alter Sophia's body, suppress her human will, and force obedience through supernatural control. The brand had not simply changed Sophia physically, it had been designed to suppress her independent human consciousness. Over time, the transformation left her partly Siren, while the brand continued eroding the identity her parents remembered. Jang He's level 3 power could temporarily suppress the mark, explaining why Sophia remained lucid aboard Liu's ship. The suppression was not a cure, and leaving Serena's control source intact meant the brand could still threaten Sophia later. Liu explained that breaking it permanently required confronting Serena or seizing the extraordinary weapon connected to her control. Temporary suppression meant time mattered, because returning home did not permanently sever Serena's influence. Armin repeated the Siren Queen's name with a calmness that carried more anger than shouting could have. Lady Isabella wanted the creature responsible for Sophia's suffering destroyed, while Sophia listened without pretending the task would be easy. Liu noticed the conversation changing from gratitude into a potential expedition, which created a different kind of opportunity. Returning Sophia earned a bounty. Helping destroy Serena could create military support. Extraordinary loot. And a much deeper noble alliance. Armin asked Liu directly for help hunting the Tier 2 Siren Queen inside the Whaling Trench. The system immediately updated the hidden quest, instead of treating Sophia's rescue as the conclusion. Stage 2 required assisting House Lauren in hunting Serena, seizing her extraordinary control weapon and removing Sophia's slave brand. The updated quest tied Sophia's cure directly to Serena's defeat and the extraordinary control weapon. The reward remained unknown, which normally would have made Liu cautious about risking the treasure ship. Armin then changed the calculation by promising that House Lauren would contribute 2 fully equipped warships. Those vessels would carry anti-extraordinary weapons, including specialized cannons, alchemical crossbows, holy salt powder, and silence rune bells. Silence rune bells were included specifically to counter the psychic singing that had nearly emptied Liu's deck. The noble fleet could provide firepower, but Liu's treasure ship remained essential because it had crossed the trench and resisted Siren control. House Lauren also lacked an equally reliable way to locate the enemy in said distorted waters without someone who had already survived them. House Lauren needed Liu as navigator because ordinary fleets could bring weapons yet still fail to find the enemy inside distorted waters. Liu considered the offer carefully instead of accepting because Sophia was watching, or because the Count's anger sounded dramatic. He already intended to deal with Serena eventually, because the Whaling Trench threatened a profitable direct trade route. Serena also controlled an extraordinary weapon and stood at the center of a hidden quest, whose rewards could advance Liu far beyond normal rookies. Going alone had been irresponsible. Returning with noble warships and specialized anti-siren equipment was a completely different proposition. The new expedition structure converted a reckless solo hunt into a coordinated operation with specialized support. House Lauren would absorb part of the military cost, while Liu contributed the unique vessel and experienced the operation required. Success could cure Sophia. Safer trade. Strengthen Liu's reputation. And place the extraordinary weapon within reach. The risks remained serious, but the balance had shifted enough for Liu to extend his hand and accept Armin's commission. Armin gripped it firmly and promised House Lauren would remember what the young Eastern captain had already done for his family. Armin's promise extended beyond money, offering a durable noble relationship if Liu helped finish what Sophia's rescue had started. Sophia looked relieved and worried at the same time, because Liu had just agreed to return toward the place that enslaved her. The operation would not begin immediately. House Lauren's warships needed 3 days to reach Lisbon fully prepared. That delay suited Liu, because he intended to use Lisbon's markets and weapon shops to strengthen Jang He before departure. Sophia disembarked with her parents, finally returning to her homeland under their protection after years inside the trench. Sophia finally left Jang He's deck as a daughter returning home, rather than a captured Siren under guard. Armin remained behind long enough for his steward to bring a heavy strongbox to the gangway. When the lid opened, nearby merchants saw rows of gold sea coins, stacked high enough to silence another wave of conversation. The Count presented 20,000 sea coins as the first reward for bringing Sophia safely home. The strongbox made the bounty tangible before any extraordinary materials or future quest rewards were delivered. He also confirmed that prompt extraordinary materials would be delivered separately before the anti-Serena expedition. 3 days later, 2 Loron warships equipped against supernatural targets would rendezvous with Liu in Lisbon. The 3-day preparation window gave both sides time to repair, arms supply, and coordinate, rather than charging back immediately. The 20,000 coin payment arrived on top of the enormous profit Liu had already made selling Blackstone cargo. Students from Earth, standing nearby, compared the chest with the tiny profits they had earned after days of exhausting trade. Some had made fewer than 20 sea coins on a voyage, while Liu had just received 20,000 from one rescue. Their shock changed nothing for Liu, who immediately viewed the money as potential cannons, ammunition, armor, equipment, and ship upgrades. Liu's first instinct was reinvestment, because the next voyage would face a threat ordinary wealth could not intimidate. He had learned enough at the Whaling Trench to know that cash becomes useful only after it buys the strength drink needed next. Bruno asked where they were heading first, and Liu answered by tapping the strongbox rather than discussing a celebration. The destination was Lisbon's Armory District, where the richest captains purchased weapons unavailable in beginner ports. Ian reminded him to prioritize anti-extraordinary equipment because Serena's power would not resemble the wooden pirates they had destroyed. Ian's warning kept the crew focused on supernatural counters rather than simply adding more conventional guns. Agreed. Keeping his focus on tools capable of protecting crew minds. Damaging supernatural targets. And improving mobility. Rex was especially eager to inspect larger gun options now that the Level 4 treasure ship offered improved cannon stability. Hank continued checking the ship while the others prepared to leave, ensuring no upgrade-related changes had weakened existing mounts. Flu stored part of the bounty securely and carried enough spending capital to negotiate without pretending money was still scarce. Part of the money remained secured because spending everything at once would leave no flexibility for supplies or repairs. For the first time since entering the Great Voyage World, he could shop for equipment based on quality before price. That shift mattered because the next enemy was a Tier 2 extraordinary creature, not a desperate gang of ordinary men. Liu left the berth with his core crew, intending to turn Lisbon's profits and Loron bounty into survival for the return to Serena. The weapon shopping trip was therefore part of the Serena operation, not a detached celebration of sudden wealth. Lisbon's Armory District catered to captains whose ships operated far beyond beginner coastal waters. Its storefronts displayed weapons whose prices could equal years of ordinary sailor wages. Liu chose Black Eagle Weapons, one of the port's best-known high-end suppliers. Rumors said the shop occasionally stocked alchemical gear, specialized equipment, and supernatural items. Black Eagle's reputation rested on serving customers wealthy enough to need equipment beyond standard harbor defense. Rex, Ian, and several sailors followed Liu through the expensive front entrance. Before Liu introduced himself, shop owner Jean Reno hurried forward with an enormous welcoming smile. Jean addressed him as the honored Eastern captain and claimed Lisbon already knew his arrival. Liu paused because he had never visited the store or met this merchant. Jean explained that serious traders survived by learning important harbor news immediately. A nine-masted Eastern giant entering Lisbon had been impossible for his network to miss. Jean's information network had connected 3 separate events. The giant arrival, the cargo auction, and Count Lauren's visit. Exchange owners had then raced to Liu's dock and competed openly for Blackstone cargo. Count Lauren appearing personally afterward pushed the story through Lisbon even faster. To Jean, any merchant unaware of those events was unqualified to operate here. Bruno enjoyed hearing that their captain had become recognizable after a single arrival. Rex joked that nobody under heaven seemed capable of missing Jang He's reputation. Ian took quieter pride because a captain's reputation also improved his crew's standing. Liu accepted the compliment without confusing port fame with real ocean supremacy. Liu treated Lisbon recognition as useful leverage, not evidence that he had reached the top of the maritime world. He had already seen enough to know far stronger fleets existed beyond Lisbon. Instead of discussing celebrity, he asked Jean what exceptional merchandise Black Eagle carried. Jean immediately listed cutlasses, muskets, medium artillery, and reinforced ship fittings. He also mentioned alchemical ammunition, enchanted rigging, and equipment rarely offered to ordinary captains. Enchanted rigging interested Ian because stronger control could improve performance without adding more weight to the hull. The merchant warned that Black Eagle's best items were correspondingly expensive. Liu touched his heavy coin purse and answered that price was not the main problem. After Lisbon's cargo settlement and House Laurent's bounty, he could finally prioritize quality. The difference from Blackstone was dramatic. Liu no longer had to calculate whether one ordinary cannon would empty his purse. He told Jean he wanted to inspect the best merchandise available. That answer changed the merchant's enthusiasm from polite flattery into genuine commercial excitement. Jean ordered his staff to open the rear warehouse and prepare the VIP room. The group was led upstairs across thick carpets into a room decorated with naval paintings. Long swords and muskets hung along the walls above carved furniture. Naval battle paintings in the VIP room reinforced that Black Eagle catered to captains expecting serious conflict. Staff served snacks and black tea while the warehouse inventory was being prepared. Jean poured the tea personally, instead of leaving the wealthy young customer to an assistant. Liu noticed the drink carried spice unusual compared with tea back home. Jean explained it had reached Lisbon indirectly through East Indies trade. Even this expensive serving was not considered the finest Eastern tea. He described genuine Longjing from the Ming Empire as a luxury among Western nobles. Jean's description of Longjing revealed that prestige goods could create margins based on status as much as practical use. A small authentic container could carry more social prestige than elaborate silver tableware. That single example immediately interested you more than the merchant's praise. Luxury scarcity between East and West created exactly the price differences his ship exploited. Jean continued, explaining why authentic Eastern goods remained so difficult to obtain. The stable routes toward the Ming Empire were already contested by enormous commercial powers. Direct Eastern access was valuable, precisely because multiple middlemen currently captured profit before goods ever reached Lisbon. Great merchant guilds controlled portions of the traffic with fleets beyond rookie scale. Royal naval forces protected routes important enough to influence national trade. Powerful pirates attacked profitable lanes whenever official control weakened. Transcendent monsters created barriers that ordinary warships could not solve with cannon fire alone. Transcendent threats explained why ordinary commercial logic could not open every profitable route with money alone. A small Lisbon weapons shop therefore obtained many Eastern luxuries only through resale. Liu mentally connected tea with porcelain silk, medicinal herb, and extraordinary materials. Any of those goods could command astonishing Western prices if carried directly from reliable sources. The Eastern trade route represented a sea of profit vastly larger than Blackstone to Lisbon commerce. Yet Jean's explanation also showed why those profits remained beyond Liu's immediate reach. The richest trade opportunity in Jean's story also carried the strongest monopolies and most dangerous waters. His level 4 treasure ship was exceptional among rookies, not invincible against mature maritime powers. The New World contained threats, monopolies, and transcendence, far beyond Black Shark or one Siren. Liu refused to let future wealth distract him from the route already under his control. Blackstone and Lisbon still needed a safe, direct corridor through the Whaling Trench. Clearing the Whaling Trench would give Liu a repeatable corridor he already understood before he gambled on the New World. Serena remained the obstacle preventing that corridor from becoming a dependable commercial artery. House Laurent's upcoming operation gave you the strongest available chance to remove her. Solving that problem could finance later attempts to reach richer Eastern markets. The sequence mattered. Secure one profitable route. Strengthen the ship. Then expand farther. Footsteps interrupted the discussion when a clerk reported that the rear warehouse was ready. The clerk's report ended the strategic discussion before Liu committed to any distant Eastern expedition. Jean led the group from the VIP room through a long corridor. Two employees waited beside heavy iron warehouse doors at the rear of the building. The doors opened slowly, revealing rows of naval equipment under bright interior lamps. Bruno stopped talking when he saw how much serious weaponry Black Eagle actually stored. Large black iron cannons occupied one section with reinforced carriages beneath their barrels. The griffin-marked cannons represented a higher class of merchandise than the practical weapons bought earlier at Silver Sail. Some cannon surfaces carried decorative griffin crests rather than the plain finish of Silver Sail weapons. Another section displayed reinforced rams intended for captains expecting close-range naval combat. Alchemical shells were stored separately, marking them as different from normal iron shot. Enchanted rigging offered another approach to strengthening a vessel without adding artillery. Reinforced rams, ammunition, and rigging showed that Black Eagle could improve several ship systems at once. Armor plates and structural components filled racks designed for larger merchant ships and warships. An ornate Ottoman-style stern castle stood among the heavier ship modifications. Golden details crossed deep red timber, emphasizing luxury as much as combat utility. Rex immediately studied the cannons while Bruno looked across the heavier defensive equipment. Ian focused more closely on sails and rigging because mobility determined whether weapons gained useful angles. Liu let the system inspect equipment instead of relying entirely on sales descriptions. System inspection protected Liu from paying premium prices based only on a merchant's salesmanship. His attention moved across several expensive items without finding the perfect first purchase. More cannon firepower remained useful, but Serena required more than repeating the Black Shark solution. The ship already had an advantage in size. An ordinary naval durability. Its clearest performance weakness had appeared during the headwind before Lisbon. The headwind before Lisbon had exposed a genuine performance gap rather than a theoretical weakness on the status panel. Jang He's huge sail plan needed strong airflow to reach its best speed. Against unfavorable wind, even the level 3 ship had dropped several knots. Ian's rare skill had compensated, but Liu preferred equipment that reduced dependence on ideal conditions. Then he noticed a massive sail hanging separately high along the warehouse wall. The unusual teal sail attracted Yu before the cannons because it addressed mobility instead of repeating existing firepower. It was deep teal rather than the pale cloth used on ordinary merchant ships. Silvery veins crossed its surface in patterns that seemed to move under the lamps. The material looked more like flexible scaled membrane than traditional woven canvas. Its silver-veined membrane visibly separated it from every conventional canvas sail stored nearby. The sail occupied enough wall space to dominate the entire section around it. Liu stopped walking before Jean had any chance to point the item out. His system opened an inspection panel, his attention fixed on the sail. The item was a rare Tier 1 extraordinary storm ray wing sail. It had been crafted from the wing membrane of an extraordinary storm ray. Storm rays were extraordinary creatures capable of gliding through violent weather, which explained the material's unusual properties. Moon silver thread, special hemp, and alchemical preserving oil strengthened the supernatural material. The sail could occupy a mainsail or secondary mainsail position aboard a compatible vessel. Its first effect increased ship speed by 12% under normal sailing conditions. A second effect improved efficiency against headwinds by 15%. The equipment also raised hull stability during storms by 10%. Improved storm stability would complement Jang He's existing resistance instead of duplicating the exact same function. Those 3 basic effects already targeted the conditions Liu wanted to improve. The system then revealed 2 special properties that made the sail significantly more valuable. Breeze call could draw nearby air currents toward the sail while the ship traveled. That allowed minimum cruising speed, even when surrounding winds were weak or inconsistent. For an ocean-going merchant, that feature protected schedules from dead calm delays that could otherwise destroy carefully timed sails. Storm affinity reduced tearing risk and converted part of chaotic storm wind into forward thrust. Processed into sailcloth, the wing membrane still retained part of the storm ray's unnatural command over wind. Liu had finally found equipment designed to turn the treasure ship's biggest weakness into another advantage. Jean noticed Liu's fixed attention and identified the storm ray wing sail as Black Eagle's crown jewel. He explained that its material came from a creature notoriously difficult to hunt alive in raging storms. Before negotiating, Liu understood that this extraordinary sail matched his vessel unusually well, making it the strongest candidate for his next upgrade.